Hello, folks. Welcome back to another radio show episode here. I'm your host, Mike Kamal, here for another one of these and everything. I hope everybody's having a good day. Hopefully, everybody's staying safe out there and everybody's just minding themselves, social distancing, wearing the mask, hand sanitizer, and just being conscious of their health, because just want to get that out of the way first, because I obviously need to get onto the meat of the subject and of today, and what this day means significantly to not only myself but all the Americans, New York and Washington D.C. and everything else under the sun that affected us on that day. I am speaking for those of you who are in the U.S. watching this. You guys will know I'm talking about the 9/11 anniversary attacks. To those of you outside the U.S., you guys obviously know about this, the terrorist attacks that basically rocked our society to its core back in September 11th, Tuesday, September 11, 2001. It was actually a Tuesday that it occurred. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I'm not going to remind everybody. You guys can look it up. But basically, what happened was for those of you who know it, and for everybody who knows it, I mean, it's been in our memory for the last 19 years. Today is the 19th anniversary of those tragic attacks. A day that will live in infamy for my generation, of course, just like D-Day back in 1941. Something that happened nearly 70. That almost happened 80 years ago. So, 70. I think it was 79 this year that D-Day happened. But for those of you who remember it, you guys will probably remember where you were. I know I was in art class in 7th, but I was in art class, and it was either was it? Yeah, I was in art class in the 6th grade. I was in the 6th grade actually. For those of you who don't remember, it's when the terrorists of the Al Qaeda terrorist group hijacked a couple planes and hijacked 4 planes, 2 into the towers. I think it was flight U-993, and I forget the other one. And then one of them obviously slammed into the Pentagon. It was supposed to go for the White House, and then the other one, the passengers got control of the plane. Unfortunately, it was too late, and it crashed in the field in Pennsylvania. Its intended target, I believe, was I forget what its intended target was, but it was not supposed to. But obviously, it was the intent to shoot us at the heart of our politics. I mean, it hurt our defense. It slammed into our defense ministry and whatnot. And 2 of the biggest symbols of the world, of the financial world in our country. So now I remember I was in art class when. Now I remember it was. Now I remember it was before our class. I remember one of my teachers getting a cell phone call back. The big bricks back then. Those were one of the old flips back then. The old clamshell flips back then. The old Motorola's. Before we got the Razor and such. But I remember her going on the phone and her husband talking to her, and I said, "Oh, the towers have been hit." And I think a period later, I was in art, and they said the towers have been hit, and they told us when everything was developing. They said, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the towers in The both. I remember when the tower was struck. I remember when they called it for the first tower to be struck. I remember that was around. I remember it was around 9:30 or something. It was around, yeah. Um, yeah, so it was flight. Um, yeah, so it was flight 175 that crashed into the Pentagon. It was flight 93 that crashed into the World Trade Center, and the Pentagon was the one that got hit in. Um, that got hit in the Pentagon, and um, yeah, I remember the Pentagon getting hit, and then and these attacks, and as I said, it happened 19 years ago. These attacks were American Airlines 11 and 175 hit the Trade Center, and then 77 hit the Pentagon, and the United Airlines 93 was obviously the one that hit the field. Um, and I can remember off the top of my head. Um, so the first one went in at 8:46, and then it was 9:37, and then 9:03 was obviously 175, um, which was actually from Logan. Both of the planes that were hijacked were from Logan. Um, and then 77 hit the Pentagon in Virginia, and then 93 obviously was in Stony Creek Township near Shanksville at 10:03 a.m. And these attacks were were covered literally over 2 hours. So it was the scariest 2 hours of our in my lifetime, obviously. And yeah, I remember feeling very scared at the time. I can't lie. It was a scary moment. Uh, I just knew life was a little different back then. Now, obviously, I was young, so 2001, so I was uh, well, it was 19 years ago. Well, it was 19 years ago. So I'm 31 now. I'm about 31 now. So I was a little over. So I was a little over 12. Was I? Yeah, I think I was like 12 years old. Yeah, I was like 10. I was like 10, 11 years old at the time. Actually, yeah, 2001. I was born in 19. Yeah, it was just before my. It was just before my 10th birth. It was just before my 11th birthday, actually, I believe. So yeah, you just imagine, 11-year-old kid seeing that happen. And I remember going home. I remember we were talking about it. People, I remember counselors were holding sessions left and right. And I remember seeing my guidance counselor that day, and he was saying, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm scared. I've never seen like this. I'm like, I'm scared. I've never heard of it, like, anything like this in my lifetime. In fact, I don't think I could really talk because I was scared utter crap. I didn't know what was going to happen. No one knew what was going to happen. And then I went home. They released, actually, I think they release this early? Yeah, they released this early. I think like 2 hours early. I think they released this right after lunch. I think at like 1:30. School usually went to like 2:30, 3 o'clock. So they left. So they let us out at like 1 o'clock because they said, "Oh, we want you guys to be with your homes, and we don't want you guys to be in the school area, whatnot." And I went home, and The pictures of both towers getting hit and the Pentagon, the remainder of it, and watching it unfold and watching both towers just basically fall apart and crumble. It was huge, huge at the time. I was I generally had my hand over my mouth because it was just such a shocking turn of events. It was such a shocking moment for me, and I think it was for all of us. Anybody who has ties in the New York area, anybody from the state, obviously feels a bigger shock, because that's their home state. The three people there's like two people that I know that are from New York. Tom Gilkey, my best friend. He's from New York, so it's big, so it resonates big with him, because he's a New York New York native. One of my counselors was also from, actually I think a few of my counselors and teachers were from New York. I believe we had a math teacher named Karen Panarella. She was New York fan. She was New York, and she was a New York Yankee fan. That was the one day we used to tease about the Red Sox all the time, about the Yankees all the time. That was the one day we didn't tease or joke around about any of that because it was so serious. There was one day that was the one day we didn't tease or joke around about the Yankees to her ever, because that was their day. But that was for all of us, obviously. Obviously, as an American, I felt hurt because I didn't think in a million years we'd get attacked. But I knew we got attacked at Pearl Harbor, so I know we got attacked at Pearl Harbor because I read about Pearl when I was younger, and I never thought it would happen in my lifetime, but it did. So I remember shaking my boots. And I can imagine. I'm 10 years old. I'm 10, 11 years. I'm 10 going on. I'm 10 and a half years old because, as I said, my birthday was like 5 days later. Was 4 days later on the 15th. And it was goddamn scary. Yeah, my birthday was on a Sunday. It was goddamn scary, to say the least. And it affected the world. Baseball, all the sports got knocked around. I remember all the big sporting events getting canceled. All concerts getting canceled. I remember baseball going into November back then, because of what happened, and the world changed. We had to do bomb drills. We had to do drills. We had to do evacuation drills. Everything, just in case something happened and we needed to get out of the building fast. It was really. I remember a lot of the teachers who were back in the 50s, who were running back in the 50s, were like, oh, we remember hiding under our desks in the 50s and whatnot, because we lived through that era, especially during the Cold War and everything. But I never thought in a million years I'd see through this. In the time I've been alive, we're thinking about this. I'm thinking about this, and obviously during a pandemic, obviously, because we're currently in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I've seen attack on our soil. I've seen a couple of virus outbreaks. I've seen economic decline. I've seen fuel shortages, gas prices surging up way too high, and to top it off, now I'm obviously seeing a health scare right now in the pandemic. So in the last 19 years, I've seen quite a bit. So and it weighs on all this stuff. You learn everything, and it weighs on you because that, you've been through a lot of stuff, which is why you guys can't see it, but I carry gray hair on my sideburns. I don't carry that gray hair for just for show. That's not painted in. That is through years of what I dealt with and everything and whatnot. And, all these moments, I mean, COVID right now is very scary. All the people, God bless their soul. God bless everybody's souls that lost their lives to this virus that shouldn't have lost their lives because of healthcare restraints or whatnot. And the 6 million people that have been hit with this damn thing, I fortunately have not had it. I had symptoms, but was deemed positive, deemed negative, pretty much, and and that's the reason why I have been trying to, live whatever. But I'm getting away from 9/11, but it was a scary day and everything. So you guys know me. Every time I do one of these, I do a moment of silence for those who lost their lives, and for all those firefighters and all those first responders who basically risked their lives and such. I'll talk about that right after, but I'm going to give them a minute starting now, though. So, after all this happened, obviously they brought in personnel and different people to clean up the wreck and try to find the survivors. And I believe since I read it on and stuff, and water was affected, people's lives were affected, people lost husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, uncles. A ton of people we lost a ton of people, and there's families out there that lost people, and those people were trapped under there. I mean, there's an estimated 2,799 people that died because of this, and that's just not including, and that's including firefighters and people who just basically risked their lives to go in there and actually find survivors in the rubble, because there were some people that they found. You just hear the harrowing and horrible stories of what they had to go through and what was going on, who was affected. New York was never the same for a while. I just ended up visiting last year in 2019, so I got to see the Empire State for myself, and you get to see you see the Freedom Towers in a lot of the big skyscrapers and a lot of the big buildings. But we actually didn't go to the Trade Center because the Trade Center is on a different block in a different place. But people paid the ultimate sacrifice, and people died basically unnecessarily because of these radical groups that just don't like us very much over there, and it's George Bush visited the scene. I'm pretty sure a lot of the big politicians visited there. I'm pretty sure Rudy Giuliani, who was mayor back then, also visited the site. A lot of and different fire departments from different cities, states, all pitched in to find those people, and those people who basically risked their lives. And into all of you that are still around and living, to those affected by it or hurt by it, my prayers and thoughts. Hopefully, you live, because you guys, while wounded, you guys are heroes. You didn't have to incur the injuries that you guys got, but everybody wounded or still alive, wounded or affected by this, while they rescued it, and I can only pray for God bless, and I can only pray for the families that still have that still have to deal with this unnecessary loss 20 years later. It's just never good, and it was a scary day. I was close to crying a couple of times. I'll tell you that, because it was scary. It was scary. It was scary for all of us. Life was never the same after that, and the world. And I think it was 2 years later we went over and started our war on terrorism, to find weapons of mass destruction to counter the terrorist threat and all that other stuff that the government wanted to use to order to go in and invade and get rid of Saddam and get rid of Bin Laden. Obviously, it took us a long time to find Bin Laden, and obviously Saddam. To end the oppression, and also end the pointless conflict. Although we're still kind of in conflict right now, and we're trying to secure those regions, and it's going to take a little bit longer. So, the effects of the war have obviously hit us many times over. So we're still feeling the effects 20 years later. So, but obviously we're still strong. We're doing what we can. Obviously, COVID's hitting us a little bit, but it's. But we got back on our feet financially after a while. And then, of course, we fell because of the financial crisis back in 07, 08. You guys who lived it will know that. But it just was not fun times for us. It was not great times. It was really, really tough for us to really deal with it. And the media had to adjust. Program had to adjust because we couldn't have any signs of attacks or anything on cities or whatnot. I'm pretty sure a lot of cartoon episodes got pulled, or any references to 9/11 got pulled in the coming years, because it was deemed insensitive and stuff like that. It had a cultural impact too for a while. So, and a lot of people are still hurt about it, and there's a lot of people in New York that are still bitter that it happened on their ground. So, when I'm advised, when you do go to Ground Zero, that you pay your utter respects and you don't joke around. You be serious there, because you're basically stepping on ground where people basically lost their lives, and there's a bunch of people and there's probably spirits of those people that lost it, that lost their lives unnecessarily, and to a threat that doesn't really care for us very much, and a group of people that doesn't think the way we do, and their ideology is screwed up and everything like that, and it's because of that we have that. But we can remember, but again, we can remember their souls, their spirits, and hopefully help them pass on, cleanse them and pass on, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of angry spirits in that area that don't like their ground to be trudged on. So, everybody. Everybody out there, I just want to say, long live this country. Let this country stay strong. Let us remember those who have died in the wars on terror, and who sacrificed their lives, and who their lives were unfortunately ended and extinguished because of an act of hate and cruelty on the United States, and pray for everybody who, and hopefully those families will continue to, pray for those families who are still, affected by this, and still remember that day. So it's, and and everything else. So yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna put this one to do. Good night, everybody, and my thoughts and prayers and memories, and to all the spirits out there and everything else, to the people who, for everything that occurred during that era during 9/11. I sign off with silence.